In this video, we're going to take a look at the Word 2013, Chapter 3, Skill-Based Training. This one's been throwing a lot of people off, and I'm not exactly sure why, but there's certain steps that people just can't seem to get beyond. Maybe there's something that my IT lab is expecting that we just don't seem to be able to do what my IT lab happens to be expecting. So we're just going to launch all, and we're going to go through the whole thing. That way, no matter where you're stuck, we can take a look and hopefully help you get past it. So first thing we're going to do in this step, we're going to move to the end of the document. I like Control N for that. I think it's a lot quicker than scrolling down. And then we press Enter, and I'm going to insert a 2x4 table. Under the Insert tab, we can do that. Table, and we want to go down to the 2x4 table. We're going to add in some text here. We're going to type in table 2 impact sources. And we're going to add in some more data, employee compensation. When we do that, we hit tab after that, my IT lab throws in the rest. It can see, yeah, we can fill in data in cells. We don't need to do this a million times. It's going to populate the rest, so we've got something to play around with here. Now we're going to go back up to table 1 for this next step. We're going to delete the category column entirely, select all the text, and under the layout tab, we're going to choose to delete that column. Incorrect action. Something didn't quite go right. Now, even though you've got the right thing selected, sometimes this one can act a little quirky. There's a couple ways to do this. You can right click and do a delete columns as well if the ribbon isn't working. Just troubleshoot around. There's a couple of ways to do everything in here, and you can always take a look at the learning aids and see exactly the steps on how to do this. It's also all in your textbook. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to delete we're going to insert a row at the top of the table, and that one's pretty easy to do. We're just going to insert a row above. Oops, that one didn't take. Let me try that one more time here. Insert a row above, and we're going to call it table 1 top industry sectors, and we're done. Now the next step, we're going to start doing some merging. Now we're not just making tables and adding and removing rows. Now we're going to start manipulating those. Not all of our tables are perfect squares with the same size cells in all of them. So now we're going to take a look at manipulating how some of those will look. We're going to select the entire top row. Oh, nope, that's not this step. Actually, this is one. No, I take that back. This one we are actually going to merge the first rows here. That one's pretty easy. Select those, merge them. Wherever you begin selecting is the area where we're going to keep that data. If I was to merge these, for example, we're going to have a problem because what data am I keeping? You're always going to keep the one you start with. Now we're going to position the mouse pointer on the border between the first and the second column on table 1. So we have this double headed arrow. Now we're going to try and reduce this by about 1 inch. Now my IT lab has a certain space that it considers okay for you to hit on this. Notice we're a little to the left of the 2. We want to end up somewhere around here on the ruler. This is an inexact science though. You may get incorrect action a couple of times on this until you find that just sweet spot that my IT lab is looking for. So don't get too frustrated with this one. It's hard for a computer to accurately grade approximately 1 inch. So we're just looking to find that one sweet spot, and when we get it, we'll be good. Might be a little further over than it appears. It might be a little less far than it appears. There it was. For me, I started here and I ended at about the 1. But once my IT lab caught that correction, it put it in the place that it wanted it. So we can move along. It does take a couple of attempts So hopefully you have enough attempts on this particular step. Now we're going to select row 2 as well as all the remaining rows, and we're going to adjust the row height to 0.3. I just grab all that text, make sure I'm only selecting those rows, and the height is right here, 0.3, hit enter, and that will change the height of each of those cells. We're going to position the mouse pointer in the inside of the left edge of the third row on table 1, inside the left edge on the third row on table 1. We're going to scroll on down, because what we want to do here is we want to split the cells. You click here, and we want to split that into two distinct columns. So there's going to be a column here and there's going to be a column here. But are we going to merge all of these cells together before the split? No, we really just want to make a new column. So we'll do that and say OK. And as the question completes, you can see how that played out. On to the next step. We're going to align the numbers in the rightmost column of table 1 using the align top right. A lot of people seem tripped up on this particular step of this skill-based training. I'm going to select the numbers only, not this one. Only want the numbers, and we want to align top right, and that one is this button right here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to align center all the text in the second row of table 2. Table 2, we have to jump down here. Second row of table 2 is these two. You can select it from the right, select it from the left. It shouldn't make any difference. And we want to center that. And that one says incorrect action. Well, maybe we want this actually to be centered as traditional text would be. We can also choose to go in the home, and we should be able to do it from this spot as well. Let me just try making sure we get all of those cells. Sometimes it works a little bit better this way, and I'm going to try to center it from here. And this one it took. Okay. Click anywhere in table 1. That's somewhere in table 1. And we're going to go into the design tab. We're going to apply a style. Nice thing about Word is we don't have to look at these boring tables all the time. We can actually make these look pretty cool in just a couple of steps. Now this one we're going to use list table 3 accent 1. This one happens to be in the second column, third row under the list tables. So we've got our list tables down here. We want the second column and the third row. So we want this. And instantly it makes that table look way, way better. Now we want to open the table properties. I'm going to highlight the table to do that. And you can right click and say table properties. And I want to center horizontally on the page. And that's all we need to do for that step. On to the next one. Clicking in the last cell on table 1, we're going to make a formula. Now the formulas are in layout, and we're going to choose formula, and we're going to make a formula that sums up all of these. Now you might think this is normally an Excel kind of thing where we're making formulas and summing data, but you can do this stuff in Word too with tables. It's not nearly as powerful as Excel for this kind of stuff, but it's actually very effective. So we're going to go to the formula. We're going to use this formula. You're going to see a lot more of formulas looking like that once we get into the Excel chapters. And then for this one we want our number format to look like this. This is going to make sure that when that total is summed up, it looks exactly like we want it to look, with the right number of decimal places, commas, etc. And there's our sum. But now, the next step here, we're actually going to change one of our numbers, and we're going to notice it doesn't update that formula automatically. We're going to update it manually. So we want to change that number from 348,999,342 to 338,999,342. Now in Word we're not updating this field automatically, but you can right click right on it and say update field, and it's going to reflect that change and recalculate based on that formula. Next one here, we're going to select some rows, and we are going to do some sorting with our tables. So these don't have to necessarily be in these orders. We can sort them to make the most sense for us. You know, if data changes or if we want to look at it in a different way. So we're going to select row 3 through row 7, and we're going to sort those rows. You can do that under the Layout tab as well. A lot of fun stuff in here. And we're going to choose Sort. And a box pops up. How do we want to sort this stuff? We want to sort by column 4, which happened to be our economic impact number. So we're going to sort by column 4. And we're going to sort that in descending order. Automatically, those all get changed and they're placed in the appropriate order. Now on table 2, we're going to do a little sorting as well. We're going to sort the rows by column 1 in ascending order. This one's a little bit tricky because you'll notice this table actually runs on to the next page. So when we're going to sort this information, we're going to grab this data, and we're going to sort it by column 1 in ascending order. Something that tricks some people here, if you want, you could switch this to text, and that seems like it's appropriate. We are actually sorting text data. My IT lab doesn't like that. If you leave it at number, it's still going to effectively sort that set of rows. We're still C and then E and then O as far as alphabetical order for column 1 here. Why it doesn't accept text, I don't know. But it's just one of those things that troubleshooting kind of can get you through. Now we're going to select the first 2 rows in table 2. Notice these are both heading rows. We want to repeat these headers on the subsequent pages. So when you scroll down here and you're looking at this, it's very easy to tell what this data is supposed to mean if we repeat those header rows. So we've got that highlighted. We're going to say repeat header rows, and then just before it disappears here, well, maybe not, you would be able to see that the header rows are actually replicated onto that next page. Actually, I think we can see it now here in this next deck. Nope, looks like it took it away from us anyway. Anyway, we're going to select table 2. If it says select table 2, I'm going to assume it wants all of table 2. So by clicking on this crosshairs up here that appears, you can select all of table 2, everything in it, all the borders, all the cells, all the rows, all the columns. We're going to go into Table Tools Design, and we're going to select Double Solid Lines. Now this one acts a little funny sometimes, but as long as you follow it exactly the way my IT lab has stated, it usually works out okay. We're going to select Double Solid Lines, Half Point, Accent 4 Border Style. This is the 3rd row and the 5th column. It's this double yellow line. We're going to apply that border style now, which now has been selected, and we're going to apply that to all borders. When that happens, you'll see all of these change to that double line. We'll select row 1 in table 2, and we're going to click the shading arrow, and we're going to create a custom color. You don't have to live with just these theme colors. You can go with a custom color, and this is really handy if a company has a particular color that they always use in their logo or in any of their documents. So you can go down here and go to an exact color, a custom color. And this one's going to be 240, 239, and 29. That's the number designation for that color. When we do that, you'll notice that this top row is shaded in that particular color. Next step, click anywhere in table 1. That's back up here. And we're going to go into the References tab, and we're going to add a caption below this table. We're going to insert a caption, and it's going to be economic, whoops, I missed a space there. We have to be exact. Impact by industry. Has to be capitalized properly, has to have the right spaces. We wouldn't want this looking bad in a professional document, so we can't have it looking bad here either. We say OK to this. Oops, I missed something. What did I miss? I did not insert that caption below the table. I need to fix that. I need to make that below the table and say OK. And now we're going to click on the Home tab, and we're going to increase the indent of this caption that we've just placed in there. Home tab, increase the caption. We're going to do that 2 times, and you'll notice it jumps over a little bit until it's in an appropriate spot. The next step here, we are going to convert some text to a table. Maybe you have some data that isn't yet set as a table. It kind of looks like a table. Maybe you copied and pasted something in from another document, but you want to make it look really nice. You can select this, and you can convert this right into a table. It's the same as inserting a table, but we're actually going to convert that text and create a table based on that data. The defaults are pretty good here. It's able to detect that we were separated by tabs, and we're 2 columns and 7 rows, which looks about right. And there's our table. We're going to click on the blank paragraph just before this, and we're going to say Table 3 summarizes the total employment impact of Trailer University, including the period. Now we've created a table from just text and thrown in a manual caption, if you will. Now we're on to mail merges. This is I think the fun part of Chapter 3, and it really shows some of Word's power for us to be able to take a document, customize it for a bunch of different people automatically, and send it off. So we're going to go to the Mailings tab, and we're going to go through the step-by-step mail merge wizard. We are going to create some letters. As you can see, there's kind of a base letter here, but it's not personalized for anybody individually. So we're going to go through this mail merge wizard, and oops, I need to click next. You might notice, depending on your screen resolution, I'm working on a laptop here, it doesn't have a very large resolution top to bottom, so sometimes this stuff is just off the screen. If your resolution is small for some other activities, sometimes you won't have enough of these buttons either. You'll want to look for an alternate solution, maybe keyboard shortcuts or something to that effect. So I had to scroll down here to see my next link. Click next, and I'm going to use the current document as my starting point from my mail merge. And then I can click next and select recipients. In this case, we don't have an existing list. We're going to type out a brand new list. We're going to put in some data to create these letters. Doctor is a title, Curtis is the first name, and Bracken is the last name. Click Tab. My IT Lab is going to fill in the rest of that information for us. We can say OK. In the Save Address List dialog box, we're going to provide a name called Trustees. Just in case we ever wanted to use this in a future mailing, we've always got this list of names and addresses and such, so that we can always go back and do this same merge again. If you had customers or donors that you wanted to send out a letter to on a regular basis, this is a really nice way to do it. You can manipulate your address list for who you need to add in or remove, but then you can always make sure you're sending the same letter out to everybody automatically, and it makes your job so much easier. So we're going to save that, and at this point we're actually going to add in a new name. We can notice, hey, I don't have everything added in here. I'm going to edit this data source, and I'm going to add in one more name. And for this one, we are going to add in Mr. Robert somebody. Mr. Robert. When I hit Tab, Cobb and his company name, and everything else gets filled in for me. We can say OK. We're happy with that. And we're going to say yes, I would like to update that file with this new entry so that for future I've always got all of these names in here. On to the next one. We're actually going to proceed in and do a little bit more of our mail merge, and we're actually going to create our individual letters. We're going to edit our recipient list. We're going to use an existing list area. Oh, in the use existing list area in the mail merge pane. Here we're going to sort our recipients by city. Maybe we've already got our envelopes all printed up. They're already all in the right order. We want to sort all of these letters that we're creating by city. Okay, we can do that. We're going to choose sort. We're going to choose city as the field. And we're going to sort those in ascending order. If there's two people in the same city, we want to sort by last name in ascending order. We can say OK, and all of those entries that we have placed in there will get resorted. Now this part, this is where the real power comes in with mail merges. We're going to go to the end here, 2016, hit enter, and we're going to click next, and we're going to write our letters. Fortunately for us, our letter's already done. And then we're going to insert the address block. So what's going to happen is right here, a piece of text is going to get thrown in there, and once we complete our merge, that address block will get populated for each individual letter that we're creating. So we're going to insert this address block. And we're just going to leave the default settings for this particular example, but you can customize it. And this address block will get replaced by each individual person's name and address, city, state, zip, etc. We press enter, we say dear, and normally when we set up a letter we're going to say something like Dear Mr. Smith. Now how do we get all those Misters and Mrs. and all the different last names all to align perfectly? It's another block just like this address block. We have all the data, we know what we need to put into the file, we're just going to add those pieces in. So dear, and then the title, Mr. or Mrs., and then we're going to close and do a space. So we don't want it to all jam together, we want to give it a little space, and then now we're going to add in the last name as well. So Dear Mr. Smith, colon, or all of the other names that we're going to have coming through here. And then we're going to click next. We're going to preview our letters, and this is what one of the letters would look like. We're not done yet. We're still just formatting. This isn't the end product quite yet. We're going to select the address block from the recipient name to the line preceding the city state. Okay, this one not exactly intuitive, but we're only going to grab this. Why? What we're doing here is we're actually removing the space after each of these lines. So by doing that, we want to remove this space, this space, this space, and we're going to remove this space. We're going to compress that address block down. We go to the Home tab, and we're going to fix the line spacing. I always like to do it through this step because I find this to be a little bit easier. I'm going to change that to 0 space between the lines. Say OK, and you'll notice the address block is all nice and compressed. Now the last step, here's where we're actually going to complete the merge. All of this has been building up to creating a document that contains all of these individual letters. We're going to complete the merge at the bottom of the page, and then we're going to choose to edit individual letters. The nice thing about this is it creates one document for us. This is actually something you need to do in the grader project as well. We're going to edit the individual letters, and that way when we say OK to this, it actually creates all of those letters. If we had 5 or 50, we've got them all done. So that is the Word 2013 skill-based training. Go through that and good luck with it.